Hello and welcome to another Excel video with Rich Kerr. In this scenario, I'd like to look at the ability to import external data from the web directly into my Excel spreadsheet. So for our example, I'm going to import the list of stocks that make up the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So to begin, I have a blank sheet, and on the Data tab of my ribbon, I'll go to the section on the left labeled Get External Data. And depending on how large your Excel window is, you may have the separate icons already displayed to pull data in from Access or from the web or from a text file. But you may have a single icon, as I have here, in which case you'll click it and then choose From Web. So we choose From Web, which launches a modified Internet Explorer window right inside your Excel application. So we'll be using this window to browse to the website that has the list of Dow Jones Industrial Average securities together. Now, there's a number of places where you can get this. We're going to be going to the Reuters homepage. Also, if you get an error message that appears that there's a problem running script errors, you can answer in the negative that you don't wish to continue running script errors. So that's an issue that appears sometimes when doing this process, depending on the website that you're on. But saying no to the question about script errors will not stop you from importing data. So, in the address bar, I'm going to highlight whatever's there by default, and we'll go to Reuters.com, Reuters.com, and that should take me to the Reuters homepage. And there's an example of one of the script errors. So, something has popped up saying an error has occurred running a script. I'm going to say, no, I do not want to continue running scripts. And you may even have to click that answer a couple of times. Let's hope that that's the one time I'm going to see it. So on the Reuters homepage, I'm going to hover my mouse over the word markets in that menu bar, as I'd like to go down to indices. Now, if you can't see indices in your markets menu, you may need to make the overall window larger by stretching the borders of the window. You can use that handle in the lower right-hand corner as a method to do so. So again, I'll hover over Markets and choose Indices. And from the results, when I chose Indices, I have a list of all the American indices first, including the Dow Jones Industrial as the very first item. So I'm going to click that link, that .dji, which is a hyperlink, and that'll take me to the part of the Reuters website that lists all the securities that make up the Dow Jones Industrial Average. And what you may have noticed too as we're scrolling around the Reuters website is that in various places you'll see a little yellow square. And where you see those yellow squares with the arrows in them, these are areas in the web page where Excel perceives there to be data organized in a tabular format, columns and rows. And you can use those tags to try to import that data. So I have scrolled down and I see all the securities that make up the Dow Jones, and it has its own little yellow square tag. When I hover my mouse over that square, the square turns green and there's a blue border that shows what table of data that corresponds to on the website. If I click the yellow tag, it actually stays green with a check mark. And now in the lower right hand corner, I will choose Import. So I intend to import this table that lists all the stocks that make up the Dow Jones with their last price, their change in dollars and in percentage, and finally the volume of shares traded. Let's choose Import, and you can confirm where the data will go. In this case, we'll have it start out in cell A1, and you can also assign a name to the imported data. An imported range also is a named range that you can refer to in formulas or link to using your name manager or your name drop-down arrow. So I'm actually going to do that part too. I'm going to click Properties and change it from this default name of index symbol equals, and I'll just change it to DJIA, Dow Jones Industrial Average. I'll click OK, and I guess I've got one in there. Let's do Dow Jones Industrial Average 2. So that will import that. And I want it to go into cell A1, so we'll click OK. And there's the list of data that makes up the Dow Jones Industrial Average. which is great. And now that's live data. So, for example, if someone were to type over my data, even if it were one of the numeric entries, I can really right-click anywhere in the data set and choose refresh. And depending on how fast my internet connection is, the data that had been typed over will refresh, and I now have the most recent data. You can also define a refresh interval on your own. So if you right-click anywhere in the data and come down to data range properties, we can see some properties about our data, including the ability to set it to refresh every so many minutes. So in that section labeled refresh control, I'll choose refresh every. I'll leave it on 60 minutes. You could do shorter than that, but be mindful that every time it refreshes, your entire workbook will pause for a moment while the refresh occurs. So I'm going to leave it at 60 minutes. And you could also opt to have it refresh the data every time you open your Excel file. So if you chose that option, you'd have a refresh every time you launch this workbook, and then every 60 minutes or however many minutes you've listed. I'll choose OK, and now it's set. So every hour that's going to refresh. So if this were doing the time that the market is open, you'd see changes in that data as the refresh occurs. And again, you don't have to wait for that 1 hour interval. You can always right click at any time and choose refresh. So that's it. That's how we import web data into an Excel workbook. Thanks for watching, and I hope you come back soon for more Excel demos. Have a productive day.